like 2 years ago or something, I started like really trying to like, I don't know, just like dress the way that like young me would think was cool, you know, like before like society and shit got in here. Not to get too deep. But my question is, why is dressing the way that young me wanted to dress evolved into cosplaying as Mrs. Roper from Three's Company? I'll put the picture up for the side by side, but this is literally like if a gay man played Mrs. Roper from Three's Company, this is what I look like. Books. My name is Logan and welcome to the Bi Book Boy. I am a chaotic bisexual. I read books. This week I read As Far As You'll Take Me by Phil Stamper. I bought this book like at Barnes & Noble because the cover looked cute, and I was like, you know what, I've read a lot of like heavy hitting shit recently. I need a young adult like cute little travel-y romance thing. And then Katie Can't Read reviewed it on her channel, and I was like, okay, now I really need to read this because Katie liked it. And it was like up on my TBR list anyway, so I did it. So shout out to Katie. Happy 1K. Anyway, I did not expect I don't know what I was expecting, because like young people are like nowadays are like very just active and like well informed anyway, so like I don't know why I wasn't expecting to be this attacked by a young adult book, but holy fucking shit, I feel attacked by a young adult book. Like, this was real. Trigger warning before we jump into shit. This book discusses eating disorders, being outed, religious trauma, and a bunch of other fucking shit. So, as per usual, if that will negatively affect you in a severe way throughout the rest of the day, feel free to jump off now. Like and subscribe. Thanks for coming. Love ya. See you at the next one. But if you're still here, let's talk about As Far As You'll Take Me, because I have thoughts. The first note that I wrote in my MacBook is this that cello movie that we all cried about in middle school but gay? And then parentheses, look up the title of the cello movie. Anyway, though, As Far As You'll Take Me is about a young boy named Marty who grew up in Kentucky, recently came out. We don't know what the details are, but we know that shit didn't go too well, because he is now going to London under the pretense, according to his parents, that he's like gonna be like, yo, I'm gonna stay with my aunt and my cousin for the summer and do a summer program in London. But the real thing is he auditioned for said college program and did not get accepted. So he's really just taking the trip anyway to go live with his aunt and his cousin, who's also gay, and hopefully find a job and start like auditioning places as a musician, because he's an oboist, and thusly like have a way to like get a green card and get a visa and like stay there so that he doesn't have to go back home to America and live with his homophobic family. So already there's a lot there. What? Ooh, Stormy. Hold on, my cat is trying to get out of the room.
A few minutes later.
There's hair on my mic. I don't know how union rules are for musicians over there, like across the pond. In fact, I don't even know how union rules here are for musicians, for professional musicians, because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look it up. But I know from having like lived in London in college for a little bit and really fallen in love with that area and just like the way that life is, and then, you know, subsequently looking it up and being like, could I maybe move here after college and like be an actor in London or whatever? Union rules make that incredibly fucking difficult. And Phil Stamper is a musician, so I totally trust him with like doing his research and shit, because I assume he knows better than I do. But initially I was reading this book and was like, okay, I'll follow you, Marty, but I don't have high hopes that you're going to succeed in this, and I already feel sad for you. Anyway, he immediately right off the bat in the airport meets Pierce, who is his cousin's friend, also a musician, and the main love interest for this book. And Pierce is like your typical hot British, like, fit dude who's a musician who's like got all the moves. The meet cute is fucking adorable. I really enjoyed Marty's like perception of anxiety. This book does a really good job of throwing in the little intrusive thoughts that come in having anxiety disorder, and I like the way that those intrusive thoughts like affect everything, even down to the meet cute, because it's like a really big thing. I really like the atmosphere that this book gives, like as far as like London and everything. I can tell that Phil Stamper like really had a love for London and British culture in general. I didn't really look too much into Phil Stamper's backstory, but like I really enjoyed that because like he really got like down to like the atmosphere on the tube, right, where like nobody talks because it's rude to be loud on the tube in Britain. So like, and like if you make any noise, you're gonna be judged by a bunch of British people. However, there's like, when exiting the tube, while it's like a sea of people leaving, if there is anybody with like a stroller or like something heavy, a stranger will just immediately come and help you, like help you get up the stairs and like help you get to where you're going next without questioning, sometimes even without conversation. Like it's just like an unspoken thing, and it's a cool kind of camaraderie that I loved because I was like, I don't have to talk to you, but I know that I'm not alone. And Phil even had like a scene like that when we were first jumping in. I also enjoy the found family dynamic here. It's kind of that thing that happens when you first become like a young adult, jumping into like leaving high school and jumping into like, you know, new adult era ages and shit, as a queer person, where you kind of find this group of people that like are like you and understand you in a way that a lot of people from home never did, especially like small town things, and it's just nice, and I really enjoyed it. That's all I can say without spoiling this book. So I guess this is your spoiler warning. I mean, if you watch me, you know that I really am bad about spoiling books. So you don't want shit spoiled for you. Again, hop off now, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I promise one of my videos soon will not be full of trigger warnings and spoiler warnings. I will read something that everyone can watch towards the end. But see ya. Now let's jump into this. So, full disclosure, Pierce is not a great dude. Pierce is kind of a dick. Pierce inadvertently pressures Marty to be more sexual than he is comfortable. He pressures Marty into what Marty defines as an extreme dieting regimen. I would describe as an eating disorder. He also is, like, from the beginning, both calm and welcoming, but also just assertive enough to set off Marty's anxiety. I enjoy the way that was built up. Well, because Pierce is also written as a very loving and kind character, so it kind of inadvertently like simulates the gaslighting that does happen in young relationships like this, that like I've experienced and a lot of people have experienced, where you're like, they're so nice to me and they make me feel seen, and this is like also the first time I've been in a queer relationship, so like I feel seen and safe. However, there's still so many red flags going up, and it was effective enough to the point where reading this I was going, those are red flags, but is this just me as a reader projecting my own like trauma and insecurities onto the book? Is this just my commitment issues popping up, or is this dude bad? And then when we get to the eventual like revelation that Pierce is indeed a dick, I enjoy the way the resolution is handled there. This is one of the few books I've seen that doesn't shy away from the idea, that the very adult idea that I think we all learn eventually, that you don't have to have closure. You're allowed to cut toxic people out of your life and still love them, but still, you know, be done. And if you are going to keep them in your life, part of being an adult is being like, yo, I understand where you were coming from, and I appreciate that you have apologized to me, and I thank you for that. I am still going to set a boundary here now that you are not allowed to cross, because I'm not going to let you treat me like that. You know, I have to protect myself. And that's not often something that I have seen represented in young adult young adult romance, especially young adult queer romance, and queer romance in general. LGBTQ plus romances, something I always have a problem with, is that we are very good at being like, wow, there's representation of like, different like queer relationship dynamics that are not heteronormative, and like age gaps, or like, open relationships or things like that are really not heteronormative thing. While those can be very healthy, there are also a lot of abusive power dynamics that jump into different queer relationships. And it was cool to see not only just a queer romance, but a young adult queer romance be like, you can have both. You can have a non-heteronormative relationship with age gaps or life in general, or really, like the things that aren't, that break the mold, and you can still have it be healthy, and you shouldn't settle for less. I really enjoyed that. Wow, we are like on topic today. What the fuck? Maybe it's because I read this book in a day and it's all fresh. Phil Stamper really did a great job of exploring that same dynamic in friendships, in that just because someone has been there for you forever doesn't mean that they aren't still toxic and abusive. Marty has this best friend from home named Megan, who like takes care of him and has kind of been like his like bodyguard and cheerleader throughout most of college, and was there. And while she's like ready to go to bat for him and very like upfront about like her love for him, she's also manipulative as hell. And like from the beginning, she doesn't give him leeway to have a life. She wants the entire friendship to be on her terms, and she wants the friendship to be things that she is comfortable with, like just topics that she is comfortable with. And whenever like life gets in the way, she retaliates by guilt tripping him into feeling bad for, missing a call because he was stranded in traffic, or things like that. Or like outing him to their other best friend without his permission, because she thought that the other best friend deserved to know what was really going on, whereas it's outing is not okay. Megan eventually, as a way to retaliate to him because she feels left out of, and like she feels like her friendship's no longer valued, she outs him to their entire high school when he's not there, in a way that like also vilifies him for choosing his life as a queer person over their friendship, for prioritizing experiencing things as a queer person. While outing is never okay, period, because that's fucked up, when you take it a step further and vilify someone who is in a compromised position and in a very vulnerable state in their life as far as their family and their home life goes, you're literally taking their safety in your own hands, and that's not okay. And the thing I enjoyed about this book is that it highlights that that's not okay, and it didn't force a sort of Love Simon-esque friendship where they're like, everything's okay, and like, I don't feel bad about it, and like, you gaslighted me just for being a queer person, but like, we can still be friends because we've been friends forever, Megan and Marty have a real conversation where he goes, listen, you're weaponizing my anxiety against me, and you're making life decisions for me that are not yours to make. The friendship's been great. I need to put up a boundary and leave now. And I think that's really cool and a very good thing to have represented in a book that doesn't often happen. I also like the juxtaposition between Sophie as a strong friendship character and what the fuck is on? Oh, my necklace moved. I thought something touched me. Oh my god. I enjoyed that this book highlighted the difference between his friendship with Megan as a strong friend that pushes him out of his boundaries, and his friendship with Sophie, who is his strong British friend he meets that pushes him out of his boundaries. Because Sophie, while still like advocating for him to take risks and like take life by the horns and go for it, Sophie respects his boundaries and respects his experience as a person who has severe anxiety, even like calls him out on his bullshit in a way that is respectful. And when she does overstep a boundary, she acknowledges it and apologizes in a way that is not self-serving. Something I do wish was discussed more was his eating disorder. Marty is already uncomfortable about his body and does already suffer from definite body dysmorphia, but when he starts dating Pierce, he unconsciously starts starving himself to be more attractive to Pierce. And the interesting thing about this is, while Pierce does have a lot of microaggressions towards people whose bodies aren't fucking sculpted, he's very like Pierce is definitely not a body positive person and quite toxic. Pierce never says anything to Marty that's like, yo, you need to lose weight. Like, Pierce never says anything to Marty, but Marty still allows eating disorder brain to take over his life and his almost perception of the relationship. And as a person who has done that in relationships before, I appreciated that it was not portrayed as someone else forcing him to starve himself. It was a survival tactic, and almost a control tactic that he had on his anxiety was not eating. My problem with the portrayal of the eating disorder was that it's immediately fixed by him having a medical scare and someone going, yo, you need to fucking eat. And then it's fixed. He's eating and he's, making sure that he's okay. And like, the body dysmorphia isn't really mentioned again. And I don't enjoy that it was portrayed as such a like light switch, now you're saved, because eating disorders stick with you. Like, there can be lifelong lasting physical and mental ramifications. And it's not just something that you can switch off and something that can be fixed immediately. And while I get that that's a lot, that process would be a lot for a young adult book. If you're gonna bring eating disorders into the topic, I want you to fully flesh out what it is like to start healing yourself from an eating disorder. I don't know. I just wanted more there, and that would be my one qualm with it. Overall, I give this book, I would give it a 4-star. I really, really liked this. And I'm also really excited to read Phil Stamper's other book, The Gravity of Us, which I do have on my shelf. I just have to get to it. So yeah, that's it. If you made it to the end of this video, as always, thanks for sticking around and helping out. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can get my videos whenever I decide to post them. And until next week, this has been the Bye Book Boy, and I'm saying bye.